Young women are probably the most targeted group by deception than any other group in this country. We are told in a very dogmatic and bullying way that not just to be a good person or not just to be a decent human being, but to be a woman, you've got to be a diehard feminist. You've got to be for on-demand abortion. You've got to be for the radical leftist feminist agenda, or else you're not a female at all. And we buy, or many of us buy into this narrative that we have to think a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way, that celebrities or influencers or lifestyle bloggers tell us that we have to be in order to be a strong, confident woman. And I worry, I do worry about the next generation and their ability to withstand that, because here's one lie. I would say it's the main lie that I see perpetuated against, particularly targeted against young women. And it's not overtly a political lie. It's not overtly a partisan lie, but it is a lie that is so fundamental that if you believe it, it can derail your life and it will affect your politics. And that lie is this, is that you are all that matters, that life is all about you, that your only purpose is to serve yourself, your only purpose is to be yourself, whatever that means. Your only purpose in life is to do what makes you happy. If you haven't noticed, if you've logged on to Instagram at any point in the past 5 years, we live in this age that I like to call trendy narcissism. We are told that the only thing that matters is that you love yourself, that you care for yourself, that you prioritize yourself, that you cut the toxic out of your life, and that you only do what feels good to you. We're told that there are no rules, there are no principles, there are no standards that you have to abide by. As long as you feel something is right, as long as you feel something is good, we are told by the mainstream culture that that's fine. That's what we as women need to believe. There's no such thing as regret. There's no such thing as guilt or shame or right or wrong or shoulds or shouldn'ts. No, you just do you, we're told. That's the only thing that matters. We are part of these generations that are obsessed. We are obsessed with personal happiness. We are obsessed with finding ourselves and finding whatever thing gratifies us most. And yet, ironically, we are not happy. Not relatively anyway. We are some of the most anxious, the most discontent, and the most purposeless feeling generations in our country, compared with baby boomers, compared to the silent generation, compared to the greatest generation. We struggle with feeling empty. We struggle with feeling lonely. It's amazing that with billions, or I don't know how much the industry is worth, $1 billion industry telling us how to be happy and how to be ourselves and how to fulfill ourselves and gratify our desires, that we're still so unhappy. And here's why. Because we keep buying something that our souls don't want us to buy. There are two fundamental things that I think are obliterated when we believe that we are the center of our universes, that we are the only thing that matters, that the only thing that matters is to satisfy yourself. There are two things that human beings need to flourish that with that mindset go out the window, and that is truth and purpose. And the reason is, when you believe that you are the center of your universe, you believe that you are your own God. And if you believe that you are your own God, that means you determine your own truth, that you determine your own morality, that you determine your own purpose. And when everything is subjective, things get very confusing. And so when you believe that you are the highest authority that you have in your life, you believe that truth is relative. We have replaced the truth with my truth. We have replaced doing what is right with doing what feels right to me. And this is precisely why we cannot have rational conversations about things anymore. We can't have rational conversations about what a woman is or what a man is. We used to think that was decided by science. No, it's not decided by science anymore. It's actually decided by how you feel. It's why we can't have a rational conversation about when human life begins. Something that was decided by embryologists a long time ago. Now it's, well, is it a human being? It might be a human being, depending on if you want it or not. So we've started setting these arbitrary standards for what is and what isn't, based on not any reality, not any science, not any objective truth, but what my truth is. And that's exactly what happens when you believe that you are the God of your own life, that you are the only thing that matters. It also obliterates purpose. When we believe that our purpose is to serve ourselves and to be ourselves and to only do that which makes us happy, we end up very unfulfilled. Because any real purpose necessitates sacrifice. Any real purpose necessitates sacrifice, the very thing that we as young women are told that we should avoid. We should avoid sacrifice. We should avoid discomfort. We should avoid inconvenience at all costs. Yet real purpose demands sacrifice. You guys probably knew that it was just the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and I took some time to read some of the stories from D-Day, to listen to their stories, and to just revel in the courage, the bravery, the valor that these men showed that day. The reason why we call this generation, the World War II generation, the GI generation as they're known, the greatest generation, is not because they perfected self-love. I can tell you that. It's not because they perfected their self-care routine. It's because they practiced selflessness. In fact,
very well said.
Every hero that you have, I guarantee you, every hero that you have is your hero because they sacrificed something. Because they laid down their wants, they laid down their needs, they laid down what felt good to them for the good of other people and for the good of a cause that was greater than themselves. And yet we're told that we shouldn't strive to that. No, the greatest thing that you can do in life is be autonomous and authentic. Those are the only two values that we have. Autonomous and authentic. You should have control of your life and you should be yourself. I think it's laughable. It's laughable to think that we as women, that's all that we're capable of. That we're not capable of laying down our conveniences or laying down our comfort for the sake of something that is bigger than ourselves. And I promise you, if you live as if your only purpose is yourself, your only purpose is making yourself happy, you will end up lonely and miserable.
Yep.
Because the only things that are worth pursuing in this life, the only things that are worth holding on to, demand sacrifice and discomfort.
Yep.
That is from your job,
to a good marriage,
from your activism, to marriage, to having children. All of these things demand that you lay down some things that you want, some things that feel good for the cause of other people, for the good of other people, and for something that is bigger than you.
Yep.
You are called to put wants and needs of other people before yourself. So what is this purpose that is outside of ourselves? What is this thing that we can do that is bigger than ourselves? Well, put really simply, and of course it's always more complicated than this when we are in the thick of it, but find the intersection of your strengths and what the world around you needs and work hard to do it. Do what you are good at,
and
do what you
well.
are talented in for the glory of God.
Yep.
Now,
do it well.
That's not always easy. We don't always know what exactly that looks like. You might be someone in college and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do after graduation. I'm not even really sure if I'm going to use my major. So what I'll say, just a practical aside really fast, is just do the next right thing. Do the next right thing. You don't need to have your life figured out right now. I didn't know that I would be doing this when I graduated from college. I graduated with a degree in communication studies. I took a job in public relations because I thought, okay, that's somewhat in the realm of what I want to do. I knew very quickly that's not what I wanted to do. I knew very quickly that I wanted to do this, and I had no idea how I was going to get there. So what I did is that I took jobs and I did jobs that I didn't really like, that weren't my dream jobs, that didn't make me, wake up in the morning all excited to go to work because I had to, in order to make the path that I wanted to go on, in order to do what I feel like I was ultimately called to do. So in order to find a purpose that is bigger than yourself, you find that intersection of what the world needs around you, what your strengths are, and you work hard at it for the glory of God. And if you don't know what that is long term, you just do the next right thing. So whatever you do, whatever it is that you do it with truth.
Yep.
And pursue purpose.
Yep.
Now, I would be remiss, I believe, if you listen to my podcast, you probably know that I'm going to bring this up at some point. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about where truth and purpose actually come from. The reason that people abandon truth and purpose and are subsequently empty and confused and lacking is because they have exchanged the God of Scripture for the God of self.
Yep.
They've exchanged the God of Scripture for the God of self. The God of Scripture is the determinant of all truth and the giver of all purpose. The God of self leads you nowhere.
Yep.
1 Corinthians 10:31 says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for man. So if you want purpose, use what you have for the good of others and the glory of God, not simply for the good and the glory of yourself. If you want truth, you go to the creator of the universe and the source of all truth. You don't have to be confused. You don't have to wait in chaos and not know what the truth is. We have the source of truth ourselves. And of course, I also just have to say that the highest purpose for a Christian, and I don't know what your faith is in here, maybe you don't share my Christian faith, but the highest purpose, if you don't know what to do with your life and you are a Christian woman, here's what I can tell you is your highest and most eternal purpose. You share the gospel with your mouth and with your life. And
Yep.
what the gospel is that God loved you so much that he sent his son to die for you, to reconcile an unholy people to a holy God with Jesus Christ, that he who became sin knew no sin, that we might become the righteousness of God. That is your purpose. But in all that you do, no matter what your faith is, in all that you do, find that intersection of what the world needs and what you're good at, and pursue purpose with your whole heart, being willing to lay down the things that you want in your comfort and convenience for the good of other people and for a cause that is bigger than you. Ronald Reagan said that if we ever forget that we are one nation under God, we will be one nation gone under.
The fear of the event needs to be made more troublesome than the event itself. By doing what the president is doing, he is making the fear of the event, which supposedly more terrible than the actual event when it hits, but I'm not sure that's the case.
No, it's going to be a
I think
bombshell.
the fear before the event and when it hits for these deep state coup plotters who are being exposed and melting, I think it's going to be bad at both ends. But by doing what he did, by turning this over to Barr and saying, you go right ahead and declassify all this stuff, Barr is working with several prosecutors, one of which is this John Durham, who, from all my contacts, say, real deal, tough, honest, doesn't play a political game. This guy will take out anybody and everybody that's not playing fair, not playing right, not playing by the book, and anything associated with criminal activity. Well, we welcome the new sheriff in town. But by allowing Barr to declassify, he can selectively declassify information behind the curtain to Durham and other prosecutors that are working elsewhere to take out these deep state players. Now, I also believe that AG Barr will not just declassify documents behind the curtain, but that will lead to prosecutions, but he will also declassify documents to let light on this entire goat rodeo of this fake Russian collusion narrative with Trump. And that's where the FISA warrants about Carter Page, that's where the 302 forms, the forms the FBI fills out when they interviewed Bruce Orr, who was fourth in command at the Justice Department in the Obama administration. I believe it includes the remainder of the text messages between Strzok and Page. That stuff in front of the curtain that will be declassified. But I also think there's this group of information that will be declassified behind the curtain to be utilized in prosecutions. So everything that's being declassified by Barr, we're not going to know about, at least initially. Now, as these prosecutions roll out, yes, some of that information will become known by us, the general public. Some folks are still very sketchy on AG Barr. Okay, well, there's nothing wrong being sketchy, and there's nothing wrong asking questions. There's nothing wrong holding people's feet to the fire. That's good. That's good. But as every day goes on, at least in my mind, he shows a side that he is intent on getting it done and getting it done right for the country. He did a recent interview with CBS. Oh, there was all kinds of Bloomberg. Oh, it shows he needs to be impeached. What? What? What did he say that reinforces to Bloomberg News, other than that they're a deep state tentacle, that AG Barr should be impeached? Well, this from Real to Clear Politics. AG Barr, this is from the CBS News interview. Quote, resisting a democratically elected president, end quote, is destroying our norms and institutions.
Shit.
Sounds reasonable to me. What are you saying? Barr tells CBS News legal correspondent Jan Crawford that there is evidence that makes him believe senior government officials may have acted improperly to authorize surveillance of President Trump's 2016 campaign. He says that led to, quote, spying, end quote, on the campaign. He said the hyper-politicized nature of politics today is a danger to long-standing institutions. And he took the job of Attorney General because he is at the end of his career. In other words, they can probably put pressure on me. Leverage. What do they got? I'm not going anywhere else. It's the end of my career. You're not going to block me from the next office I want. He said, quote, nowadays, people don't care about the merits or the substance. They only care about who it helps, whether my side benefits or the other side benefits. Everything is gauged by politics, and I say that it is anti-ethical to the way the Department of Justice runs. And any attorney general in this period is going to end up losing a lot of political capital, Barr said. And that's one of the reasons I decided I should take the job on. At my stage in life, it wouldn't make any difference. Throat problem. That was kind of Mark Rubio-esque. I'm sorry, but cold. I'm at the end of my career, he says. Everyone dies. I don't believe in the Homeric idea that immorality comes by having odes sung about you over the centuries, end quote. That's a classic. Quote, in many ways, I'd rather be back at my old life, but I love the Department of Justice. I love the FBI. I think it is important that in this period of intense partisan feelings, we do not destroy our institutions, end quote. One of the ironies today is that people are saying it is President Trump who is shredding our institutions. I really see no evidence of that. From my perspective, the idea of resisting a democratically elected president and basically throwing everything at him and really changing the norms on the grounds that we have to stop this president, that's where the shredding of our norms and institutions is occurring.
Reminder that you probably don't need. John Durham, the U.S. Attorney out of Connecticut, has been tasked by Attorney General Bill Barr. I shouldn't say task, I should say he's been unleashed and as a bulldog been told sick him when it comes to investigating, prosecuting, indicting, charging, and arresting those who may have been involved with legal malfeasance, treason, sedition, and other acts when it came to the genesis of this entire Russian collusion hoax. Yes, that John Durham is very dialed in as he launches the Russia probe review. He's already met with Barr multiple times according to sources. And before I get into this article and what it shares in length, let me remind you of this tweet from just a few weeks ago. This tweet from May 22nd, this is from Paul Sperry of Investors Business Daily. Breaking, according to main DOJ sources, Durham's portfolio for looking into the provenance of Crossfire Hurricane includes examining docs generated by an interagency fusion cell Brennan set up in mid-2016 on Russian election interference.